Hola, I knew we will eventually meet here at the surrendering of the soul phase. Even though this is a very intimate process and also very different for everyone, I know that we'll have something in common. We all feel extremely lonely when we go through it. Every day, I help others to reach a state of liberation by uncovering the gifts that are hidden under labels such as insecurity, trauma, grief, depression. But before being able to guide others to move from their post-traumatic stress disorder to a stage of post-traumatic growth, I had to learn how to transcend my own traumas due to verbal, emotional, and sexual abuse. This is a space where myself, Mendizabal, and others will share with you the gift of surrendering to the soul. And no need to buckle up because this trip is being guided by the spirit in La Catch.
Well, hello. Here I have a colleague friend. I'm so excited to introduce another intuitive life coach into the space of surrendering to the soul. Here comes Laurie Marie. This is the first time ever I'm seeing her, despite social media. But she got a post in Facebook because I was stalking her, of course, before inviting her here. A little bit. When I heard the call, I was like, okay, I'm going to start following her up. And I saw she had a post in 2015. She posted a video telling all her friends that she was actually leaving the spiritual closet. That was such a genuine thing to do, Laurie. It felt so inspiring, even when it's 7 years ago that you took the step. And you know what I feel like is very genuine, that we think we have to step out of the closet, a closet we built for ourselves. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and to share with your audience and to connect. So yeah, that video I made, it's so funny because the backstory around that video, I essentially, for those who haven't seen it, I made a bloopers video because I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to come out? How am I going to tell people? Right. Because I had this feeling of like, I have to tell people. Right. And I tried making the video so many times that I was like, finally, I was just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to like put together a bloopers reel. And that's what it ended up being. And it was super fun and it felt right. It felt like this is something that it feels aligned for me. And so I did that and it was received really well. You see, I grew up in the Midwest, and so I felt that there was this kind of stigma, taboo, there was definitely fear around me sharing my woo-woo coming out of the closet, as you mentioned. And so really, I've come to realize through my journey that a lot of the closets we put ourselves in are very much self-imposed. And a lot of times it's really just the making of our own mind, the prison of our own mind that we put ourselves in. And I had done that in many ways throughout my life. So this was just one other way that I was breaking free of that.
Yeah, I can appreciate it because I maybe I see a reflection of myself in your story as well, because the more I walk into this journey, the more I realize that the closets or the jails or the prisons that we feel like we have to liberate ourselves from, it's self-built, right? And yes. It's a beautiful process of feeling like there's a war that you have to fight, and then you put the warrior avatar on. But lately, in the last couple of years, I just feel like, yeah, I know that avatar is there, it's inside here, and it's fine. It doesn't need to come out. I don't need to use it anymore because I don't feel like I'm a prisoner anymore. And if I do, then I know it has to be self destroyed. Can I say destroyed or no? Vanish, self vanish. I think that would be a more appropriate word. Before we went online, before we went on camera, you were sharing a beautiful story how you started actually taking this path of self-love. Mm-hmm. And now you're feeling like self-love was the root of it, the seed, the reason why we're here.
Yes.
How was that path to self-love?
So the path to self-love was a very long journey, but also a very rewarding journey. Like I've been on my own spiritual path, healing path, self-love path, whatever path you want to call it, for the last 9.5 years. And where I am today and who I am today is because of that self-love, compassion, and acceptance I've given to myself. And that wasn't always the case. I actually, really struggled with how I felt about myself, not just in my body, as I think a lot of women struggle with, feeling good in their own skin at times, but also with just who I inherently was as a soul. Growing up, I was told I was too sensitive. That was something I heard often. And I came to look at my sensitivity as this bad or wrong thing. And so who I was inherently bad or wrong. And so I've come to learn through the journey of self-love that I am absolutely 100% enough and okay as I am. I am whole and complete as I am, regardless of what my outer shell looks like. And self-love was the key to access that within myself.
Wow. And how did it get started? When do you think was the peak? When you reached the highest that it felt actually when you felt that you were actually hitting the bottom. We feel
Yes.
on our highest, but it's actually of you're feeling so lost. And then when you get out of that and you reach out is when you actually realize that you were actually on the bottom of it.
Yes. So I feel like the spiritual journey is different for everybody and how it transpires. For me, the catalyst was kind of hitting my rock bottom. And so that happened from experiencing a very traumatic event in my early 20s. I was a single mom. I had my son as a teenager. And so my son was 6 at the time, and he actually saw me be sexually assaulted in my home by a neighbor. And unfortunately, he saw that. But I know now, like, the bigger picture and what that was, the purpose of all this was for, right? And for a long time, I felt like that was my fault. I felt like I should have done something different, done something better, but ultimately there was a lot of self-punishment going on. And over the course of the year or after that had happened, I had also gained 100 pounds. And so then we're talking about, not only was I feeling a lot of self-hatred for what had happened, but I also was feeling a lot of self-hatred for what my body now looked like. So it wasn't, I didn't realize at the time that when we gain additional weight, it's our body's way of actually protecting ourselves. So in a way, my body was really just being a safety for me, a protection, a shield for me. But I didn't see it that way at the time, of course. And so for me, after I gained 100 pounds, after experiencing that, I went on for the next 12, 13 years, just hating myself, hating my body, struggling with body dysmorphia, binge eating, like eating disorders. Like I was experiencing it all. I had a lot of really dark thoughts about my body and about what I wanted to do to my body. Like it went to a pretty dark place. And at the time, I had made up so many reasons as to why I didn't deserve to get help. You know, as a mother, like I was really concerned, of course, like how my son had experienced that, what he saw, what he witnessed. And I really wanted to get him help, but it wasn't even in my radar to like go seek help for myself. Right. And so for years and years, I went on like this. And I thought like, oh, well, I remember telling myself these stories. I would tell myself like, oh, well, that happened so long ago. Like there are people who need more help or who need help now. There are people who have it worse than me. Like these were the stories I told myself, right? As to why I didn't deserve to get help. It's not that I
find that that's a very common excuse. Like there's other people who needs more help than me, right?
Oh,
you always feel like there's people in a worse scenario that they need more help, but that doesn't mean you don't need the help.
Right.
And I just want to share it because through my journey, since I've been a single mom since basically my son was a child, I have come across with a lot of single moms, and at some point I was one of them. That I said, no, I'm not too bad. I can fix. I can help myself. I think I can, with books and self-guidance. I can be there. There's other people who deserve it more, who needs it more. And since you touched this, I want to have a little break here. If you are a mom, please, your child, the best way you can heal your child, the best way you can help your child is throughout helping you, because he's going to learn, or she is going to learn how to do that by seeing you doing it. Not by you teaching how to do something you don't know how to do, right? Even whatever tool you supply, it's going to be outdoors, right? You take your child to counselor, to therapy, to school. But if you don't do the work here, you are saying, yeah, I'm providing you this tool that doesn't work because I don't really trust it. I'm not using it. So let's go back to your story. But I thought that was a beautiful window to send an out loud message through those moms that we tend to do that. I still do that sometimes. I still feel like to prioritize my son's needs over mine. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. You know, he's like, he's going to learn how to prioritize his needs based on how you're prioritizing your needs. So.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Like what kids don't listen to what we tell them. They watch what we do and they mimic what we do. Like, so the embodiment and the practice of doing your own inner work and really experiencing that and becoming that is what has such a powerful influence over, our children. Now, of course, at this time, I was in my 20s. I didn't know any of this, right? And I didn't even realize that I didn't feel I was deserving. I just knew like I had a whole lot of reasons why it shouldn't be me, right? But everybody's pain is valid. Everybody's experience is valid. Everybody's trauma is valid. And so to compare one to the other, I think is a grave mistake, and it prevents people from actually doing their own work and really knowing that they're worthy of coming to the other side. And so that's really, that living in that pain of not accepting myself, not accepting my body, not accepting who I was, became the catalyst for my healing journey. And so 9.5 years ago, so in like 2013, I kind of reached that pinnacle, that rock bottom, where I was actually in the Dominican Republic with 60 strangers at a workshop. I didn't know many of them. I had a few friends with me, so thank God for that. But I was just at the height of self-hatred, and I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I looked. And then on top of it, I ended up getting severely sunburned, and I got a huge cold sore. And that brought me down even further. And I finally
you could finally feel it on your skin, right?
Yeah.
The all the soreness that you were feeling inside, you finally were feeling it on your skin.
Yes. So finally, it kind of came to this point where I just broke down and I surrendered, and I was like, okay, I'm not okay, and I need to get help. Something needs to change here because this isn't working. And I just want to mention to anyone who's kind of, feeling or questioning whether or not to do the work, you don't have to let it get that painful. Unfortunately, I did. And so I experienced a lot of hurt and suffering because of it. And what I know now is that I didn't have to wait for it to get that bad, right? But of course, you don't know what you don't know. And so it happened, and the unfolding happened when it was meant to, when I was ready. And so from there, I really started to take steps to heal my trauma, to come back home to myself, to learn to love myself and accept my body and where it's at, and that it will always be changing. And really, it's given me my power back, and it's now what I use to help other people and empower them.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it seems to me, and I can feel it because even from what we talk out of camera, that that you are in a place where you are ready. You can also see it from a bigger perspective. My phone is ringing, so I didn't put it on silent. Anyways, when you already transcended, and when that happens, I want to share that with you because maybe we can create this space right now, because there's this part of, do you need to transcend anything? Because then you're reaching out for something that is not inside yourself, right? That's the battle, because what I feel like I do for work is helping others to transcend their traumas. But with that being said, I also know there's nothing that they have to find outside of themselves, right? So it's a little bit contradictory, but it's actually the thing that you need to transcend to get out of that, to know that you can do it. And unfortunately, when you are lost, you are disconnected, as you're saying. We get disconnected of our own emotions. We get disconnected from our body because the pain is too much. Maybe we cannot handle it. We don't have the tools at the moment. We don't have the wisdom to see it from another perspective, right? So at that moment, I find helpful for some people, and I find helpful for myself, because I do feel like every time I have to transcend something, I do transcend it from a loving perspective now. It doesn't feel like I need to transcend. I'm already whole, but I'm remembering. Right? Yes. I'm remembering as it goes. So the remembering process of it is what is actually transcending for me, right? But someone who is totally broken, and you say, let's you're whole. You don't need to worry about it. You're whole. Let's remembering that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't click. I don't know if that happened. That's how you perceive your practices as well. But there's a part of me that feels like I'm lying, right? There's a part of me that feels guilty, because like, I know she's whole. She just have to remember, and I'm not even gonna help. I'm just gonna provide the tools that I feel the call to share, because they're not even mine. They're going through me, and they keep surprising me what it is. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's like, oh, wait a minute, I want to actually use that for myself too. That was very helpful. I didn't know I could pass that information through me.
Right.
But it's a transcending, right? It's when you don't fight it, and it becomes remembering your wholeness from a different perspective, without the pain. And I don't know if you want to extend this part, because it's that, it's transcendence that is so clicky. It's difficult to really put it on a place when you actually transcend. You understand there's nothing to transcend, but what you haven't done the work, that's what is going to get you in doing the work. I don't know if that makes sense to you as well, but that's how I perceive in my practices now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think, so what's coming through is like, so there's one thing I see that happens a lot kind of in the, especially the spiritual communities, there's a lot of spiritual bypassing. So a lot of like, oh, I'm just going to like push that away, pretend it's not there. I'm going to like get rid of it. Right. And really, I think what's required, yes, we are whole. And yes, there is a part of us that is totally whole and is always available to us. And yes, the journey is absolutely a constant remembrance of like who we are. But then there's this human aspect, right, that we still have to work through. And it's like we have the mind, right, our primal brain that wants to come in and tell us all the reasons why we shouldn't do things. And we fall into these patterns and this conditioning. And there are these imprints that have been left within our cells and our being that we carry from generation after generation. And so to heal is to really allow those things to be okay and to allow them to be present and to not want to get rid of them or try to eliminate or eradicate them, but to allow them to, if they need to come up so you can transcend and you can allow yourself to feel and you can allow yourself to remember your wholeness, because it's our humanness that gets in the way of that. And so I think sometimes what happens, especially in the spiritual community, is people forget, like they come to this place of like, yes, I'm a spiritual being and I can see things from above, right? But sometimes I feel like it happens at times that we forget our humanity too. And we forget that there are things we have experienced and those things sometimes need to be addressed, because the patterns we keep coming up against, the things we have a difficult time moving through or moving past, are the things that are being asked of us to take a look at and to shift out of, because oftentimes those are the things, like, for example, for me, people pleasing was something I had to, you couldn't just tell me to stop people pleasing. Well, just stop people pleasing, or just stop having, crappy boundaries, or to stop doing the things I was doing. I had to be able to really take a look at, okay, why is this happening? What is it like within me? It's just like telling someone to stop overeating or to stop stress eating, or, there's a pattern at play. There's something that took root. And in order to really move through that, you have to have some sort of understanding and context so you can shift that pattern. Because just telling someone to do anything doesn't work. You know what I mean? It's why through the journey, I feel like it is a constant remembrance, yes. And sometimes these things need to come up so they can be released and honored and have a voice. Because oftentimes there's a part of us, whether it be our inner child or our inner teenager or our inner saboteur or inner victim, that wants to have a voice and is trying to get our attention. And so until we really honor that and listen to that and really give that part of ourselves love, knowing that it's okay that they're there too. They don't get to drive the car, but they can be in the back seat, right?
Yeah.
But that, I feel, is, for me personally, is my experience of how we really transcend all of it. Because to just like, yes, to remember our wholeness is 100% important. And that's why community is so important too, to have people to reflect back to us when we forget, because we will forget. Like how amazing we are, right? To have someone reflect back to us is so powerful. But to kind of pretend like something didn't, if I just pretended like what I experienced through my life didn't happen, I wouldn't have achieved the results I had and become and embody who I've become because of that journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's actually how it works for me as well. And that's kind of one of the main tools I share, is that bring those crazy bosses on board. Those are our guidance. We don't actually want to fight against them. They are guiding us constantly to clear up the way through our heart.
Yes.
To the voice of our heart that is there, but it's so sharp and it's so direct that when we have the other voices screaming at us like, no, you're here, and the voice is like, do it. But there was, are you crazy? and of course, we are going to hear those voices, but we are just going to react, right? We're not going to pay attention. Why am I feeling this rejection towards this action, towards this experience? Why am I feeling pain again about something that, it's not even in my, like, it's actually reflecting something on me? Why? And why this is happening to me? Like, what's the purpose? And listening to it, it's not even the why, right? It's like, what for? Why is it actually being part of my reality right now? And I find the more I let go and the more I hear it and the more I love, like you were sharing, self-love, the path to self-love is to love all those parts of your wholeness, because those voices that you reject, and we call it our lower self or ego, they're part of our experience right now. So it's about transcending that voice from a loving perspective, right? From a loving place, not from a rejection of who you are. Because then you're going to keep missing something, right? Then you're like, okay, what is next? Like there's always something that is missing, because you are not going to get through the heart voice. Because the heart voice is going to point you back there. I don't know if that happens to you, but I see it a lot. Like finally you get to, okay, now I'm manifesting. It's like, I can hear it. And then the voice is like, look down. Go back to the child. Go back to your teenager. Like go back to your health habits. Look at where you're eating. Like, and it's so simple. You think that you're going to manifest a car, you're going to manifest a new job, or like winning the lottery, something big. But what really the heart wants is really plain and simple and sharp. And most of the times, well, you're not transcending this whole self, lower self. It's going to point at those things that they're on the list for healing, if you want to call it so. And that's why it's so beautiful that, intuitive coaches are here for. And for a time, I couldn't understand what actually I was doing. And like being that tool of love when you actually don't experience love all day long, because I don't. Like I'm learning how to remember how to love my whole me. It was like, oh, how beautiful is that part of my practices is remembering that I could be a tool of love. Love can go through me to reflect others' one's reality, while they are also serving as a mirror for myself. And in that moment is when I remember I'm love. I am. And I can love this part of myself that is not trusting what I'm doing and is saying, are you crazy? Like, you don't know what you're doing. Are you sure? Are you going to say that to this person? And then the other part of myself that is like, trust. Everything is perfect. Everything is being guided. There's no coincidences. And if it's meant to be this way, it's for a reason. And we might not get it now, but we do understand later on. We watch back and you're like, oh, got it.
Yes. Sometimes we become so attached to how things need to look or how it's supposed to go, or in our minds, right? And we forget that, like, oh, that's right. Like I need, I can come back to love. I can come back to trust, and I can trust in the timing and the unfolding of my journey and my own life, and to not compare my path to anyone else's. Because I think that's where we get a little trapped too. It's feeling like, well, I should be further along, or I should have already accomplished X, Y, Z. And to come back to that love and that trust and that knowing that you are a unique divine being who has your very own heart's calling and your very own path, and to trust and to keep coming back to that remembrance, I think, is spot on.
Well, thank you so much, Laurie Marie, to share that space for us. I don't know if you want to share anything else about your story, about, your, maybe we can call this episode Transcendence. I wasn't planning, we didn't plan this, but we ended up talking about this beautiful topic. I find it is a passion of myself. Yeah. And I don't know how you want to close this with how you feel transcendence has been for you in your life.
Yeah. So, when I think about my journey prior to to beginning my my awakening journey, my healing journey, I had a really difficult relationship with food. Right. And one of the things I noticed that I think is important to share is along this journey, as I healed, so did my relationship to food. And, I used to eat processed foods. I used to eat junk food. I used to eat a lot of fast food. I used to eat, caffeinated, caffeine, soda, you name it. Like I was into it. And I didn't realize at the time that that was how I was coping. That was how I was self-medicating. And as I healed, I was naturally, I didn't need to diet. I didn't need to do anything crazy. I was able to just naturally, I found that these things I wasn't interested in it anymore. And so as I transcended my relationship to food through this healing journey, not by forcing or hating myself there or restriction. I did it by really honoring and listening to what was being asked of me. And through that journey, I mean, at this point, like I don't eat meat, I don't eat processed sugar, I don't eat any of that. And so I've come to this place where I've eaten really clean and really healed a lot of my disordered eating. And so I share that just to say, like, some of the things that you may be struggling with or that have maybe come up for you through your life, that, as you do this work and you trust and you really honor what's being asked of you, some of these things will kind of work their way out themselves, right? They'll transcend themselves. Yeah. And so that was a big piece to that too. And then the other thing I'll say about transcendence is my relationship to myself, and especially to my sensitivity, because, growing up, I was told I was too sensitive, and I thought it was something bad or wrong, or that there was something inherently, that was not right about that. And what I came to learn through this journey too of transcendence is really coming to the place of understanding that my sensitivity is actually my superpower. And it's what it allows me to support and to help others through their healing journey, and to do it in a way that's really powerful. I've had so many clients that have said to me, like, I've healed more in this one session than I have in 10 years of therapy. And so I just want to speak that out into the audience here to say that if you're sensitive, if you've been told you're too much, if you've been told you're too sensitive, if you've been told you're not enough, whatever you've been told, right? Likelihood is that those things you were told you were too much of is the very thing that makes you a powerful healer, creative, entrepreneur, whatever it is that you love to do in your life. It is actually your biggest gift. So embrace that about yourself and let the voices of others and the judgments of others fall away and transcend into your knowing that you are here to help heal the planet and you have a powerful gift to share. And so those are, I'd say, the two biggest instances of transcending is my relationship to food, my relationship to myself, And I've accepted and I've embraced and I'm devoted to this journey, knowing that I will do and be on this journey for a lifetime. And I'm really excited to just see how it all unfolds. And so there's a beauty and an embrace to that, to knowing that this path is one that continues on, even far beyond after we've left this earth. And it's pretty special.
You know, I could feel that message was directly to me. So thank you for that. Actually, yesterday I was feeling, I was booking the interviews for April for this week. I want to get them done. And sometimes I was telling to myself, Jen, you know, chill out. You are too much sometimes, you know, like people reply to you with one line, oh yeah, I would love to be in the podcast, for example. And then I send a voice memo of 3 minutes and then 3 messages with all the information. I just get excited and I tend to give a lot of myself throughout connection. You know, I connect right away when I feel the energy. When I don't feel, when I'm not there and I find out that it's nothing personal, but I'm not in the moment. I'm busy with something else. I'm connecting with something else, with other circumstances. Sometimes it's just into myself, right? Sometimes it's just like I need my space. I'm getting lost into nature, and that's my way to being connected. But when I connect with someone, I found myself telling this to myself: give some ease, you know, let people come. Like if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be, and that's fine. And then at the moment I said that, because I said that to me quite often. Everybody even you reach out to me like everybody will reach out to me. Yes, I booked it already. I'm so happy to do it. I'm like, it was another vibe, because at the moment I was self-judging myself and that's my power. That's actually my gift, that I just can give. I can connect so fast without needing so much information about the person, or like maybe I don't hear the other voices, right? But the moment the other voices get in, that's when the distortion start happening.
Right. It feels to me like you trusted, right? You trusted that urge to like connect or reach out to me or to whoever you're reaching out to. And it just feels like this instant resonance of like, yeah, this feels right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I do it by the intuition. And then after the ego gets in, right?
Yeah. I just, maybe this will help going forward, is just know that like, I very much trust my intuition. And so when you reached out to me, I was like, yep, it's just an obvious yes. So like, there wasn't, I just felt like, yes, period.
Yeah. So I've learned to trust too, like 100%, because is that that's the first thing that, but I pay attention when it comes from a fear place, when it comes from rejection, it's like, let's take a closer look, because it might be falling into old patterns of, self-protection, or like, I don't want to get into my survival mode can turn in still after living so many years into survival mode. So it's a familiar pattern that I have still to watch closely, right? From a loving place now. It's not from rejecting it, but it's like, are you our survival mode? Voice around there? Or who are you? Or is something new, right? But that's intuition, right? That intuition, when it's like, that's what I'm gonna say. That's it. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's just a line. It's alignment.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm so honored and grateful that you reached out, and this has been wonderful to connect with you and connect with everyone here.
Thank you so much, Laurie Marie. And of course, I wanted to invite you to the next season, because it's called In Service, where I would love you sharing with others how you got into this service, journey of service to others, and using, of course, what you do, which is intuition. And basically for intuition, our main tool is love, because we are trusting that love is our main guidance, and that's actually or the information that we are processing. Even, I don't know if that happens to you, even when sometimes we're like, no, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say this. I don't want to share that. Like, no, this person is not ready to hear this. And that's your ego saying, no, don't do it, right? But when you trust that, you don't know, like, that's exactly what this person might need to hear right now. That's actually exactly what this person might need to feel attracted to, and to be, to find themselves reflected into it.
Yes.
And when you trust that love is there, that is present, and you remember your wholeness, the job is done.
Absolutely.
The job is done.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to be part of that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't mention as part of my story. So I was a photographer for over 14 years, and I was terrified of being seen. So like putting myself out on video, doing something like this, like I was not about it, like at all. And I think people find that surprising because that's not, now I'm very comfortable doing it. But it took me about a good 4 years to really work through that fear and to allow myself to be seen. And so I always remember, and then I've noticed, like, as you, it's like new level, new opportunity to dive in deeper, right? Being seen. And what I've noticed is that, or what I try to keep in mind, I should say, is that my journey and what I've learned along this journey can be somebody else's survival guide. And so to not, if I'm starting to make it about me, or make it about like, I don't want to show up, or I don't want to say that, or I don't want to be seen, like, I remember to come back to, no, I'm sharing this because this could help someone. This could be somebody else's answer, somebody else's key to unlock something for them. I feel like we're all puzzle pieces, and we have different pieces that kind of go together within all of us to make this beautiful tapestry, which is oneness, right?
Yeah.
And so, so I've gone to a place now where I don't hold back. It took me a while to get there, but yeah.
It's sometimes it's hard for us to look at ourselves, and that's actually one of the, the main journeys of self-discovery, right? That's why it becomes it becomes a lifestyle. But we get distracted, and when we do, it's a beautiful and loving experience to see how the universe or God or whatever you resonate to shows you into a reflection, and shows you the same thing that you don't want to see inside yourself, but you see it in other, right? Then you can remember your wholeness. Then you can remember what you're ready to transcend. Then you can remember what it might feel like it to leave a story behind, that you are not that story anymore, because it serves a purpose, right? Everything is perfect, and there's no coincidence what we go through those difficult. We think it's difficult at the moment because we don't have the tools to go through it. But then when we look back, it's like, of course, I didn't have the tools because I had to go through it. I had to go through it without the tools. So I knew how to not be afraid anymore in the future, right? Because otherwise you are always keep thinking that you need a tool, that you need something else. And that's remembering. That's the remembering of your wholeness, of who you truly are. That's the transcending that we are talking about today. Without planning, of course, the soul is guiding us. We're here surrendering to the soul, purely surrendering to the soul. And we forget, and like I have a saying that is like the other one doesn't exist, because when that liberates you from who is the mind, right? That is right. You are creating your own video game. You are projecting your own reality. So that drops the mind off. It's like, who is going to think this person about me? They're going to think I'm crazy, or I'm not entitled for this, or saying that, or doing that, etc. That's the ego. That's the mind leading, taking the front seat, right? But when we when we drop that, and we drop that there's no other one, it's just the wholeness. And I like to see it that there's no other one, so then I can connect genuinely, because I'm connecting with my reflection. I'm connecting with love. There's nothing else. So when it's that, there's no separation, and I can just truly be who I am. And I keep surprising myself, like, oh, okay, because the ego was always there, but it vanished, right? It's just the voice. I can turn the voice down so I can hear the real voice that I want to hear at the moment, which is my heart.
Yeah. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful journey. And I'm so grateful that, my younger self said yes to me, because some people won't. And so I'm really grateful to be here and to go through everything that I've gone through. And now I get to help others do the same.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And sharing with others the gift of surrendering to the soul. It takes a while. I know that. I know it takes from a place of not even bravery, but a loving place, right? Because taking that armor that we don't need anymore because we're not a warrior, there's nothing to protect ourselves from, because there's no war. We are creating our own war. We are creating our own dangerous situations in the future. So coming and sharing that, I know that is from a loving place, and I really honor you for doing that. And I cannot wait for hear the other part of the story, how you ended up doing your practices and how you get your clients, and that whole other experience of self-reflection again. Of self-projecting yourself in the future. And let's keep surrendering. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
For being here.
Thank you.
Let's keep collaborating.
Sounds great.
It feels liberating to know that you're not the only one going through chaos, isn't it? Many years ago, when I realized that I was living in a toxic environment, I checked on YouTube, hoping I could hear other stories. Do you know how many I found? I found none. So my intention with this podcast is that never happens to others again. Help me to spread the word that there is a huge light at the end of the tunnel for everyone. Hasta la próxima.